Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
In honor of our veterans on this Veterans Day 2019, our review covers the HUMVEE 125 scale Revell kit number 85-1970. It's a snap-tight skill level 1 kit suitable for the novice and the detail modeler alike. Now, Veterans Day was formerly known as Armistice Day, which was signed at the 11th minute and the 11th hour on the 11th day of November in 1918. So we're going to release our version of this tribute on the 11th minute of the 11th hour on the 11th day today. It's a replica of the HUMVEE, which was also known as the Hummer, and it stands for, or was an acronym of, High Mobility Multi-Purpose Wheeled Vehicle. So people called it the HUMVEE. It was developed for the Army and has been in production since 1985. It's a rugged vehicle, and it has an induction snorkel option that can allow it to ford 60 inches of water. Well, now out of production, this kit's still available online, as it was released in 2012. There are 35 pieces to the kit, and they're molded in desert tan, clear, black vinyl, and they have camo stickers. When you're done, the finished dimensions are 7.5 inches long, 3.5 inches wide, and 4.5 inches high. This is a simple kit, and there's no motor. It can be put together by a beginner, but it has room for detailing, and mostly the look of a Hummer stems from its exterior. So it starts with interiors construction. So the seats, the interior, the dashboard, and the steering wheel, they're all painted desert sand, and the seats are detailed with some what I'll call faded olive drab that's just brush painted. The dashboard and steering wheel are detailed with semi-gloss black and a small brush. You may use a little bit of tube glue or liquid cement for construction, but most of the parts just snap together, and you can snap the 4 seats into place in the interior piece. And then the steering wheel gets attached to the dashboard, and then that assembly is installed and snapped into the interior as well. We can turn to the body now, and that gets painted desert tan. And once that's dry, locate your window glass. A little silver or chrome to the interior of your headlight bezels, and then use some of the clear or white glue to install the headlight lenses into those bezels. The windshield can also be installed at the same time, and it just snaps into place in the interior against the front roof. Now the interior can be installed into the body. Just turn it over and snap the interior into place. Next, the chassis and the foresprings are painted with the desert tan color, and then after that's dry, you can detail the foresprings with a little semi-gloss black for the coils. Now you can glue the coil springs into position there. Just use a little dab of glue on the bracket in the end where it goes into the receiver and put that into place. And now we can work on the wheel and tire assemblies. So gather the pieces you see here, including the 2 metal axles. And then the inner and outer wheels get sprayed desert sand, and the following process is done 4 times. The inner wheel gets installed into the tire, and the outer wheel gets installed into the other side and the tire and snapped into the inner wheel. And then the following process gets done 2 times. The metal axle gets installed in the inner wheel. Now you may need to use a small light hammer to tap the axle into position against the wheel. Set that flat and then tap it down towards the inner wheel, but don't hit it too hard so as not to damage the inner wheels. Now the metal axle that was installed into 2 of the wheels will get slid through the axle holes in the chassis, and then the wheel assembly is attached to the other side. Once again, you may need to set this down and just tap it into position till it seats, but don't damage the wheels. Now the chassis assembly can be installed into the body, and 2 screws are used to secure the assemblies together. and a Phillips screwdriver, a small one, will be needed for this portion of the assembly. Get these pieces out and we'll work on some of the accessory items here. The left and right halves of the missile launcher and its top are painted olive drab, and then the antenna and the brush guard are painted desert sand. Time for some detailing, but first add the brush guard, the missile launcher assembly, and the antenna to the Humvee, and then the antenna gets detailed with a little Model Masters flat black, and the front turn signals and reflectors are painted with some clear orange. The tail lights and the rear reflectors are painted with some clear red. For this model, I wanted to reflect a more accurate desert scheme, so that does not require the Woodland style camo, but I did want to use the private symbol, so I just traced it onto some wax paper, and then I cut out the section where the symbol is. Then I masked it onto the Humvee itself and sprayed those with some flat black. So you'll see that they show up pretty vividly on the vehicle, and they're more accurate than the Woodland scene camo that's supplied in the kit. I added a little detailing to the vehicle as if it was delivered fairly recently, but I put a little rust on the rims and around the edges, and then the lug nuts I touched with a little steel color, and some aluminum goes on different parts of the body, and the interior flat tan on some other parts of the body, some weathering from the Master Set A, which includes a sand and a light sand color. That got applied to the tires and some of the splash areas on the body as well. And then the flat tan application, and that kind of represents where the body was repainted in the field due to repairs, which happened a lot, and removing some of the markings, since it's hard to get spray paint that matches the original factory paint at deployments. So this mismatch is intentional, and it's more accurate of a field Humvee. Now what you see here is some tracings that I made on wax paper of the original camouflage shapes, but the colors aren't quite right for a Woodland camo either, so I traced them on to that and then numbered them so I'd know which ones to cut out first, second, third, etc. And then that will be used to apply to the body for stenciling and masking. See here is the body has been sprayed. I used some Krylon camouflage olive drab and let that dry, and then the masking tape template applied, and then what we're going to do is brush paint the model with some military brown so that it fills in the voids. We're going to apply some silly putty to the vehicle, which forms mask shapes and soft edges, and then we're going to paint the unit with some flat black. One of the great things about field applied camo is that it's just freehand brushed on, and so removing some of the masking and the silly putty masks here, you'll see there are some areas that need to be touched up, and the green doesn't reflect very well here because of the lighting, but it's olive drab. So just touch it up with hand paint like we did to brush on the camo in the first place. And when you're done, as you can see, you'll get a pretty impressive looking vehicle in Woodland camo colors. Same techniques are used on the sides, front, and hood. And this gets built the same way as, of course, the other one with the desert scheme, but the tan, however, is replaced with the olive drab that's used also on the interior, the seats, the dash, the springs, and the missile launcher assembly, and the brush guard and antenna are painted flat black instead. Well, there you have it. This great little kit comes in a form that you can apply any motif to that the Humvee was found in, and so you can have some real interesting displays and add some real accurate camo, just based on information and photos that you find on the internet. In some cases, some of the veterans here will already know what color their Humvees were. And with 18 million veterans in the United States alone, we just want to say once again a happy Veterans Day, and we hope that you'll buy one and put it on your shelf. I hope you like this step-by-step premium quality scale model review. And so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can click on the icon in the lower right hand of any of our reviews to do that. Or you can find us on Facebook or our website, rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.